This time on The Adventures of Tarka. We celebrate a milestone both in the adventure as well as in my life. We scramble to get off our mooring as a burning boat heads our way. And we raise the sails once again as we leave for Curacao. Tarka and I have been safely tied up here in Bonaire for quite some time now. As I've talked about already, we still have big plans. They're just delayed for a little while. Life is good here. And this particular week marks the 1-year anniversary since I bought and moved aboard my little boat. In 1 year, a lot has happened. To me, it seems like the passage of time has slowed. Each day has been so different that, in my mind at least, it feels like a lot more time has passed in only 1 year. I wonder if everyone who sets out on an adventure feels the same way. Somehow though, in all that time, I've never once pulled out the Jennifer that is stowed deep in the aft locker. So it was time to give it a good inspection. Some days I tackle projects on the boat, and boy does that list never seem to end. I've been putting off the proper routing of the cables to the solar panels I added back in Grenada, because, well, I can never just get that excited about drilling a hole in the side of the boat. But it must be done. Despite limited tools, space, and power, doing work on the boat still has its perks. Like these two guys that came to visit and check to see how things were going. But I do think it was rude of them not to at least offer a hand. Sometimes I get so tired of working on Tarka, though, that I have to work on someone else's boat for a while. This sailor arrived after passage with a frayed jib that had tangled up his further, so I offered him a hand by going up the mast for him. I actually like climbing masts though. And anyway, we get out of this community what we put into it. So I might as well do my part.
Yeah, good meeting you. Alright. Good luck in your projects, man. Yeah, some big projects. See you guys.
Speaking of mast, I also taught Nushta how to climb Tarka's mast, alone, just in case she ever needs to. You ready?
I'm ready.
We use an ascender system with a climbing harness, and make use of both halyards for safety reasons. It actually works pretty great.
Oh no. Pretty comfy though.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe you're softer than me.
I don't have furniture.
All the furniture's in the same room. Yeah, you gotta keep the furniture in the same room. Furniture? Furniture? Because otherwise you get...
That's furniture.
We have also accrued a long list of sewing projects, like this zipper on our spray hood that needed to be replaced after the old one succumbed to the elements.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. It's on the wrong side. No.
Sometimes problems on the boat are the same as problems in a home. Even though we're surrounded by water, it's not always easy to keep your food free of pests. So you guys think the spaghetti's still good? I think so. It's pretty good to me. Yeah. I'm just glad that we found that all our pasta had been compromised before setting off on a long passage, as I don't think we really want the extra protein. You little bastards. I'll take a video. In addition to Tarka's anniversary, there's another to celebrate. My birthday. This is of course no coincidence, as Tarka was my birthday gift to myself 1 year ago. And somehow I've survived a whole year out here. So that's worth celebrating. Okay. A lot has changed in 1 year, and I'm not so sure I could have wished for any of this. Fortunately for me, Nusha had big plans for my birthday. The first item was a dive along the north coast. No, I'm still not dive certified, but luckily I'm in the safe hands of a competent dive master, who always seems to forget at least one thing, and today it was the dive weights.
I got the bell too. Hey?
The dive was more than I could ask for. And 1 year ago I never thought I'd be here, seeing such a beautiful place, with such a beautiful woman. But sometimes I don't think I've aged at all. All done with our dive, we navigated back to the car, got dried off, and headed over to the donkey sanctuary. Yes, there's a donkey sanctuary here. Donkeys of course are an introduced species here, and the sanctuary provides a place for the wild-caught animals to live, rather than ravaging the island or getting hit by motorists. For a small donation and a big bag of carrots, you can drive through the sanctuary. But be warned, you may find it hard to make any forward progress.
It is like
Our time in Bonaire is running out, but before Nushta makes a big commitment to sail to Panama with me, we decided, together, that she needs some realistic expectations about what the passages will be like. To that end, we decided we'd sail to Curacao, and then, a week later, back to Bonaire, as her sister is visiting soon. In this way, she'd get to see how the downwind sailing is, and perhaps more importantly, how truly awful upwind sailing can be. Before departing though, the dinghy needed to be cleaned so we could haul it out and store it on deck. I decided Nushta needed to have this character building experience at this time around.
There you go. That's not that bad.
Since we are leaving the country, we also had to make the required trip to Customs and Immigration to check out. On the way back to the boat, we bumped into our friends Keith and Jeannie on Mucho Gusto, and we decided we'd celebrate our departure with some drinks and a Dutch favorite, bitterballen. The last thing to do was top off our water tanks.
So useful.
I'm proud to say that Bonaire is the first place I've been where I've had to pay for water in an entire year in the Caribbean. Normally I just collect rainwater, but it just doesn't rain here, and the dust on everything is proof. With the dinghy cleaned and stowed, our water tanks topped off, and our paperwork in order, we were all ready to depart at sunrise the next morning. Or so we thought. That night, I awoke at 2:30 in the morning to the sound of a muffled explosion, only to look out the hatch and see this. Holy shit. It's crazy. Oh, good thing there's a big fire department on the island, right?
Yeah, there's a fire on the fishing dock boat. Okay, I see an emergency vehicle coming right now.
A fishing boat on the dock was fully ablaze, and we were directly downwind of it. The thick black smoke was making it very difficult to see what was going on. Jesus. I really hope he doesn't get untied and start floating this way? It did, and we immediately stopped filming. I started the engine, and Nushta ran to the bow to untie the mooring lines. We left, leaving our lines in the water, and watched as the boat, entirely engulfed in flames, collided with our neighbor's boat on the mooring next to ours. With the intensity of the flames, we feared their boat might be set ablaze as well, and that other boats in the mooring field might be in danger too. So, I made the decision to give a mayday.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. There is a fishing boat on fire in anchorage. It just bumped up against the moored boat. In front of the town moorings. Mayday.
In
mayday,
retrospect,
mayday.
this should have been a mayday relay, as Tarka was no longer in any danger. Perhaps it could have been a pan-pan, but hindsight is 20/20, and at the time we couldn't be sure if anyone was aboard the burning boat, or whether the moored boats would be safe from the danger. Bizarrely, a pilot boat came to the rescue, and managed to get a line on the burning boat, and towed it, still aflame mind you, behind the anchorage. So, what happened, Nushta?
The boat's on fire.
Oh, the boat's on
So
fire.
luckily Brian wake up. I'm like just sleeping.
Yeah. Can't see your face, but I can see your head laugh.
Oh yeah.
We later learned that this was most certainly sabotage, as a result of some crazy fishing rivalry, and that the boat had been covered in gasoline and set ablaze. You know, sometimes I think people are the most dangerous part of this entire sailing adventure. The next day, with no further incidents, we unfurled the jib and pointed Tarka west. We were finally back to sailing again, and it felt great. Considering how rolly little Tarka is on downwind passages like these, Nushta did pretty well. I am extraordinarily lucky as I don't get seasick, Nushta, on the other hand, well, she started to feel it a little bit. But I have to give her credit. No fish got fed today.
We know, look up.
After only 7 hours of sailing, Curacao was in sight, and we navigated the narrow channel that opens up into the large lagoon of Spanish water.
Yeah, this is really narrow. Yeah, I would not have sailed through here.
We were excited to be in a new island and in a new country after so much time in Bonaire, and we were eager to explore. We only have 1 week here though, as we need to get back to Bonaire to meet up with Nushta's sister. And we'll both learn some hard lessons on that upwind trip back to Bonaire. But that all will have to wait until next time.